I'm Nina Slavic, and this is The View at Sea. This particular cruising season has been described as interesting, and I'd like to hear from each of you on that topic. Suzanne Vincent, we're on your ship, so we give the honors to you to start.
Interesting is probably the best word you could say in these times. I have to say, there's been so many incidents that have happened this year. Not so many, a few incidents that have happened in the cruise industry on a number of different ships that the media has sort of taken a hold of. And I think that's created kind of a wait-and-see approach by a lot of consumers out there. And in some of those cases, I believe it's not so much that they're concerned about cruising, it's more about how much are we willing to go down in price in order for them to travel on our ships. And I think, because I've attended many consumer shows and the desire for cruising is absolutely there. And actually the shows I've attended, we've had record-breaking sales at these shows. So that's positive. That's, fantastic. And then we come back and we go visit different agencies. And some of them are like, geez, it seems like it's so hard to get the booking, or there's so much competition out there, and we're all trying. I mean, there's so much coming at them from all of us. We all want a piece of them, especially me. No, anyway, but it's so it's really it's interesting.
Derek Lloyd, have you seen a resistance to the bookings that Suzanne was talking about?
Well, to your original question, this is an interesting year. I don't think any year that I've ever had in the cruise industry that there hasn't been some interesting factors involved. What Suzanne was talking about with resistance to bookings, yeah, I think as she's saying, people are smart. They are waiting to see is pricing going to drop, etc. Which it's with cruising, especially coming up to the season we are right now, pricing is actually holding fairly steady. Air pricing is going up. So I think that consumers would be very smart to actually book it now, not to wait, because overall, they're still going to be getting the best value.
Lisa Connell, in terms of European bookings for this summer, are you seeing now that consumers are more willing? Has the sort of shock factor of what occurred passed?
What's interesting, what we find, we'll have our fleets in Europe. And from our perspective, we are a global company. So we look at the industry as a whole all over the world in our global offices, and businesses coming in from all over the world, including Europe. But from the North American market, consumers have been a little bit slower to book, but we are finding from a value proposition in the industry. And when we look at the industry to a whole, going back to what Suzanne said and what Derek said about the industry, this is not something that's just related to cruise necessarily. The industry as a whole, our tour partners and all, are feeling a bit of a closer in booking window, whether it be Europe, whether it be cruise, whether it be land-based destinations. Air even for Europe is a little bit tighter, closer in this year. But I think overall, from a value proposition, the consumer needs to understand that there is no better value out there than a cruise vacation. And when we look at Europe and the wonderful destinations that you can visit on any cruise line, and the length of time we spend in port, and we look at our boutique brand of Azamara, there's so much choice for the consumer. So I think from a value proposition, that's what our travel partners need to focus on. And I think, yes, there has been a few incidents, but it's nothing that has been negatively impacted. I think things have been handled well. I think overall the safety of cruising is still at the utmost concern to every cruise line. So I don't think that's a factor at all. I think there's a lot of other factors in this year, and as you relate to it being interesting. But from a European perspective, I think we're going to have a very strong year.
I'd like to pick up on something Lisa said when she mentioned our travel partners. When you go through a situation like we've all faced this year, we have learned one valuable thing, and that's how important our partners are. And I've seen just wonderful ways that our travel agents have stepped up to explain, to assure their customers that it's safe to go out on a cruise. If we didn't have that, it would be very, very difficult. So having these valuable partners with us at this time has been very, very important.
Beverly Vickers, let's move over to you and the perspective from the luxury brand.
Well, the luxury cruise brands are not any different than the other premium mass market in terms of being affected by market conditions. I think what happens in a situation like this, and when we talk of the situation, I mean, we're talking not not only incidents related to cruise ships, we're talking about economy. And I have to tell you that from our perspective, it tends to be more economic issues that are more inclined to affect our type of brand, just because the clients are affected by stock market fluctuation, by businesses. That this seems to be more of an issue for our customer than perhaps safety concerns in the industry. So although I have to say that certainly the European season has been a little slower to book, it's by no means any kind of crisis condition that I think the media is trying to sort of insinuate. And I think for all of us, we've had some very lucrative years in Europe. We've had some pretty fat years in this industry, and it's cyclical. And at some point, we're going to have those dips. I think it's how we handle it. We have to be careful not to rely on discounting to get the consumer's attention. From our perspective, we rely even more on value in this type of situation. Give more to the customer. Try keep the prices as high as you can, and to make sure they come back.